Yo, what's up guys? This is Alex Rome, and today we're going to be building this from scratch. And I hope you guys all know where this is from. This is the song by Porter Robinson and Madeon. It's called Shelter. And yeah, today we're going to be building it from scratch, and I am leaving a link to this template in the description of this video, or you can go to alexromesound.com/free downloads and download this template for free. So you'll get all of this, and the required plugins for this template to work is Serum. That's it. So as long as you have Serum and Logic Pro X, this template will work for you. I have other plugins on here like Kickstart and OTT, but OTT is free, so that's a required plugin too. So you will need OTT if you want this to work on your end, but I'm going to delete Kickstart, so you won't need Kickstart on your end, because I know Kickstart is a paid plugin that not everybody has. But we're going to be building this from scratch today, and well, kind of from scratch. I'm going to leave this here just so I could reference it and remember what the hell I did, but we're going to be using all of the instruments that I already have loaded up here. We will be going into each of these instruments just so I can make sure that you guys know exactly what we're doing when we build this. But yeah, this is it. This is the Porter Robinson and Madeon Shelter remake. Alright, so step one, when I was building this, I wanted to get the chords down, because if you get the chords down, that's like the greatest introduction to the sound of a song that you could really have. So like once you get the chords, like you really kind of know what the whole song is going to sound like from there. So let's go ahead and start writing these. And the sound that I'm using is one of the sounds from the Future House Stars preset sample pack for XFER Serum. This is called Basic EDM Pad, and I basically put an ARP on it. This ARP is built into Logic, so don't worry, that is not an extra plugin. And I basically build my chords bass up. So we're going to start with our bass notes. Go back down to this guy. And just so we know what's going on here, this ARP is at a rate of 116. The note length is 100% when you click on options. By default, this is 90%. I don't like that because it cuts off the tail end of the note. And basically what you want to do, I keep saying basically, but what you want to do is come down to grid and then click this. And this means that your chords will actually play as chords instead of like an arpeggiated sequence. So what I did from here is I just watched a piano tutorial where the guy plays the chords on the piano, and it turned out they were just really basic chords. You take the bass line and then you copy and paste it and put it 7 semitones up. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you got the top layer of your chords. Just like that. And then you have one more layer to do, which is the middle note. And just pick the happiest middle note. So like this middle note doesn't work, it's not the happiest. That one sounds like death. So we go like this. It sounds a little low. And just like that. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste our chords, and we're going to place them on a higher pitched pad sound that sounds like this. Whoops. Let me turn off this so we can get a better idea of what we're listening to. Just a regular super saw pad, nothing crazy. This preset was a preset in Future House Stars, but I tweaked it a little bit to give some more top end to it, like higher frequencies, like that. And I turned the arpeggiator off, so I basically duplicated this, but I turned the arp off, and these sound like this. And then you get some beautiful pads, and together they sound like this. So the warm layer adds the pulsing atmosphere, and then this adds the high-pitched atmosphere to the pads. That is really nice. So I was like listening in on the song, just trying to dissect it and really uncover what was going on. So I heard a note in the background that kind of hums throughout the whole song very, very subtly. Oh, Jesus. This might be it. Let me just reference real quick what I did over here. Yep, that was it. All right. Ding, ding, ding. This drone pad is the same thing as this pad, which is just a super saw pad. A couple saws here, or round saws, with a little bit of envelope modulation to make the pad open and close, but it's nothing too difficult to find. Alright, so let's go ahead and start making the basses. I like to build bass up, as you can see, because I started with the bass note. But now that we already have the bass notes, I need to pick a sound that will work well for the bass of the song. So this bass sound is actually the same exact sound as the chords up here, but I turned the arp off. I think the arp is the only thing that arp is on is those pads. So what I just did was I deleted all the sounds, or all of the midline and all of the top line except the bottom line of the chords. And the way this goes in the song is like this. So to make that bendiness happen, if you guys were paying attention to my Instagram post lately, I showed how to make any sound bend. So you turn on the mono legato, and then you adjust your speed with the porta speed right here. And then you're going to get that bend every time you overlap a note. So now that we have our high bass, aka the bass that we could actually hear, we got to knock out the bass that we actually feel. So let's go ahead and do that. Damn. Sorry, my interface is acting funny. I think it's time for either a repair or a replace. So this sub bass was a sub bass that's in the Future House Stars preset pack, but I think I adjusted the sustain right here. So by default the sustain was down, and it was just a bass pluck. And I turned the sustain up, and you guys, well, I shouldn't say you guys know, but sub bass is just a sine wave or any kind of wave, but just the bottom end of the wave. But if you don't want to filter out any wave, you could pick a sine wave, and that will always be sub bass if it's a lower octave, because it has no sharp edges, and sharp edges create high frequencies. So if you have a round wave like a sine wave, it's going to be very smooth and quiet in the sub bass region. So I took that wave, mixed it with some distortion so it mixed better with the kick, and we get that. So all together, let me make sure that this was my original. No, it wasn't. I knew we were sounding a little weird. And there you got a beautiful layer of bass and chords. So let's get on to the next part, which is the percussion. And we're going to take a kick here. It sounds like this. I just took this kick from Splice, did a little bit of editing to it. I had to knock out the center of it because it wasn't mixing well with the bass line. And so we're going to go ahead and do a nice 4 to the floor kick. Oh yeah, and I don't know like if this song's actually at 100 BPMs. I didn't check, but it's definitely close. If it's not 100, it's like 99 or something. It was probably 100. And that's it. Just a little house kick, 4 to the floor. Oh, I forgot. The whole world doesn't own Fab Filter compressor, so I'm just going to replace that compressor with this one before I send it out to you guys. Get a little bit of compression on this kick, and when you compress a kick, it just makes the transient or the attack of the kick or the front of the kick, which is this part right here, makes that very punchy. So if we turn on our kickstart, you get that, a nice kick. So let's go ahead and take the snare. This snare started out as 4 different layers, but what we're gonna do, or what I did, was I rendered it down to a single layer because it just makes it easier to handle when all of your layers are rendered down to one single layer. So now I don't gotta go chasing 5 different layers of snares all over the place. I could just have one nice layer of snares. So if you listen to the original version of this song, you'll hear a nice tone in it. So I used a tonal effect mixed with a snare and a clap, all samples from Splice that I rendered down into a single stem. And your snare is going to go on top of every other kick, so it's going to sound like this. Like that. And then the next thing I did was not the hi-hats, actually. The next thing I did was the white noise. This isn't really a drum, but I needed somewhere to put this, so I put it right here. You can hear like a pretty obvious white noise in the background of the original song. It just like squirts out after the first kick and then a couple kicks after that. So watch. This one was a little softer, I remember. So what I did was I actually faded it in just to add movement to it because it's a very stale white noise. It just hangs out and lingers. So I faded that one in, and then I also faded this one in as well. just to add a little bit of much needed movement there. So then the next thing was hi-hats. Whoops. This is just a hi-hat from Splice. And I didn't pay too close attention to the original pattern of the hi-hat, but it was something quick. It wasn't like a slow hi-hat, which I had originally thought it was, but when I listened closer to it, I was like, wait a second. That sounds like a trap hi-hat. Like it just pretty much sprays like crazy over the song. Like this. And then I think I dropped to half speed right here. Like that. Oops. You do not want your hi-hats to be off-grid like that. It's okay to have your hi-hats swinging, but definitely don't want them off-grid like that, because it messes up the central rhythm of your song and doesn't sound good. So then I just repeated this whole sequence like this. Just like that. And to move it out of the center so that snare can be amazing, you can add chorus or sample delay, whatever you would like. There we go. That hi-hat might be in the center though, so don't quote me on that one. So all together with our drums and our chords. And then finally, my favorite part is the vocal samples. So vocals, I get that they're not going to ever be exactly the same as the original. And the reason is because we don't have the original vocal. And whenever you don't have the original vocal, you just got to go with what you got. So I took a vocal off Splice, and I just remade the melody, because that's what we have to go off of. We have the exact melody, but we don't have the exact vocals, so our vowels aren't going to be exactly the same. So it started off, actually, I'll show you what this vocal started as. And if you guys have Splice, you might recognize this vocal. It's up 10 semitones, but actually, let's go ahead and put this back down to its original position. And I'm over you. And then I did a bunch of chopping. Oops. Like this and this and this and this. And I took these and rearranged them to sound like that nice melody that you can't mistake this melody for the world. Do, 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 like that. And it was just a bunch of chopping and pitch editing. And then I liked it, but I wanted to add some sauce to it. Oh shit, I actually started out with the lower octave. I thought this was the lower octave. But I started out with this one and then I added the higher octave. And then all together. And just like that, you got this sexy little piece from Shelter. And I'm going to leave this, like I said, as a free download for you guys. It'll be available at electrumsound.com/free downloads. You can download it there and do whatever you want with it. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. I love you. Peace out.